Hopefully we are live on there now, and I will just double check. I've just got the notification, so let's have a gander. Oh, we need to slide over, Chris.
Do we?
We do.
Okay, we can do that.
Right.
Are we there?
A little bit more.
A little bit more. How's
Yeah,
that?
I'll do.
How's that looking?
Alright. Cool. Excellent start of the show. Right. So hello.
Ready?
As you can see, we have not got our usual setup because we have a very, very special Thanksgiving Day edition of the LSC Report to give you. Live stream while games are going on and no less. And as I'm speaking right now, Case Keenum is probably about to hand it off to Jarrett McKinnon.
There he is.
He has indeed. He got no games, so nothing interesting there. And what else is new, Moto had? So I will just punch this league. The link into the league chat view, and then we will get underway. So you can hear me talking on here right now.
Yeah, see, we'll be able to get away properly anyway.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of bit of the show where no one really watches.
No.
And we don't.
Because we've just gone live and no one really knows. So anyway, right, take us and we'll start.
Okay, are we ready?
Hello, back again for another week. The co-host has returned from his hiatus. He went to the far corners of the earth, otherwise known as Chandler's Ford.
Correct.
But he has now returned
to
be your co-host once again as KC rolls out of the pocket and delivers a dart to the right to Adam Thielen. What else is new? Yeah. So, as always, we're going to capture the league news and go over last week's game and everything, but as each week passes, it gets more and more interesting.
Doesn't it?
And I'll review last week's games. Well, we will. Obviously had interesting implications.
Yes.
So this week's slate of games, as we will see, I will set the picture when we get to it, have even... huge ramifications for the rest of the season.
We can't say how big these are. We say there's only 1 month to go now. I mean, genuinely, it's the 23rd of the month. Say the LOC Grand Finale, the Corona Bowl itself. Believe it or not, that's it. It starts anyway on the 24th. So yeah, we're really pleased to be back. I am anyway.
Yes.
So let's get on with the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologise for me being a bit nasally. I'm a bit cold stricken.
Oh,
so
no.
I'll breathe this way.
Absolutely, yes. That'll do.
So, let's start off with the injury news. And apologies if we're a bit slower than our usual setup. We're using the app today just because we're watching the game, as you can appreciate. So, let's start with the Gridiron Gang. Right. So, breaking news, Matthew Stafford has just taken a nasty hit to the lower leg. Yeah. This is pretty much as breaking as injuries get.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Unfortunately, it's for my team, of course. So, yeah, he took a hit to the lower body. It looked like a leg-ankle type thing. Don't know how long he's going to be out for. We'll find out. What else we got? Lane's Darkwa had a hamstring problem earlier this week, but he's now off the injury report, so thumbs up there. Tyler Croft got a hand injury in last week's game, but he came back in the game and proceeded to drop a few passes. But
as you can expect.
Yeah, with a wrist injury, hand injury. Yeah, but he'll be good to go for this weekend. Any other players there? Danny Woodhead actually returned finally.
Wow.
Long last. Hallelujah.
After about 2 years of being injured.
Yep, exactly. But nothing else there. Bare necessities. Let's check them out. So Devontae Freeman. He still has a concussion. He practiced limited today on a limited basis, so he may return this weekend, but he is still in the protocol, so only time will tell on that front. Ty Montgomery's still not practicing with his rib injury. I expect him to miss another game at least. John Brown not practicing, neither is Ann Hines. Not really sure what's up with those guys, but I don't think they played last weekend. Hines certainly didn't, so not a good sign for him. Moving on to Southampton Owls now. They lost Dante Foreman for the rest of the season, which, on the face of it, a lot of people were asking, why is he playing Dante Foreman? I actually looked at his points. He's getting some okay points, considering the state of the rest of Southampton Owls running back core. He was actually okay.
He's that fourth quarter kind of like Tariq Cohen kind of player who's either going to do not a lot or he's just for a massive touchdown.
And he actually had a career day.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, isn't he?
Until he ruptured his Achilles.
Yeah. So what way to go.
Yeah. Anyway.
Shameful.
What else we got here? So, I think they're looking okay apart from that.
It's good.
Jay Cutler, he's got a concussion as well, so don't know if he'll play. Probably best for the Dolphins if he doesn't. Matt Forte still not practicing. Don't know if that's just a rest day, but he has missed the last few weeks, so I want to keep an eye on there. But Detonators, Philip Rivers returned from his concussion last week. Samaje Perine's questionable, but now that he is literally the only running back on Washington's roster, he probably will play. What else else? We got Tara Taylor, interesting, is starting again. Sort of not injury related, but interesting nonetheless.
You can see why.
He was benched for all of a half, and now he's the starter once again.
Absolutely.
Other than that, Corey Coleman has returned for Burdett Mate as well.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
Nice.
They also got Josh Gordon on reserve spot, who should be good to come back week 13, I believe.
The forgotten man.
Week 13. Next then, we have Forge Flyers, your team.
Yes.
Larry Fitzgerald did not play at practice, sorry, because he's an old man.
Yes.
He needs his rest. Other than that,
11 million. Have I saw this week? Larry Fitzgerald got an $11 million contract extension for 1 year. One whole
which
year.
is actually probably less than he's being paid now, considering his contract was ridiculous.
That's it.
That's a great rush play right there.
Absolutely, there you go.
McKinnon just took the ball and fell over for a loss of 3.
Gutted.
Great. Right, Dream Team. They're looking okay, actually. CJ Anderson's been a bit nicked up, but I think he's still playing. Sterling Shepard missed last week's game with migraines.
Awesome.
He had an illness that cropped up, didn't play. He's questionable, he's still suffering with them, so game time decision, I would say.
Yeah.
You have to check that one, what is going on here. Other than that, Dream Team are looking dandy. Cash for Gold, how are you doing? Not too bad. Cameron Bray, limited practice, but he should be good to go. Cam, permanently on limited practice for the whole season, it feels like. But he should play. Dunter on limited practice again. I think he will play. Pakistan. Julio Jones, a participant. He will play. I don't think he's scored a touchdown yet this year. Just an interesting fact for all of you.
That's amazing. Julio's not scored a touchdown.
Yeah. Curious, right? So.
Very.
Yeah.
Very curious.
Yeah. So. Other than that, Chris Hogan's still not practicing. He's missed the last few games.
Too much to cross.
Too much to cross.
Every time.
Oh my goodness, is Matt Stafford going back in the game? That is unreal.
I can't believe it.
What an iron, man. We won't find out who the Detroit Lions backup quarterback is,
Surely
sadly.
not. That's a real shame.
Next then, ADRZ. Isaiah Corral was a limited participant. I imagine he will play this week. Gronk did not practice. I think he just had sort of a rest day thing. Juju Smith-Schuster did not practice. Not quite sure what's wrong with him, but I think he'll be okay for the weekend's games. Darren McFadden inactive. He was a healthy scratch last week.
Ouch.
I'm guessing he's also one this week.
Yeah. Indeed.
So yeah, Emmanuel Sanders did not practice. He may have suffered a setback with his ankle injury. He's played the last couple of weeks, but he may not play today. This weekend, sorry. So I wanted to keep an eye on there. And just so we circle back and make sure we cover it, Zeke is now suspended for the 4-6 games. So he won't return until week 16.
That 25-point pickup a few weeks ago from Alfred Morris turns out to be, well, possibly this.
I think Rod Smith's the starter.
Ouch. Maybe not then.
Maybe not.
That's the last time I was here, by the way. So, tells you all you need to know.
Times have flown.
Indeed. It changes in 2 weeks.
Yeah, Thank You, Tank Face. They're looking okay. I think. Yeah, Marcus Lee limited participant. He should be fine. They actually got D.D. Westbrook back finally. Greg Olsen should play this weekend as well, so I want to keep an eye on there. And finally, Tom's Tyrants are looking okay. Chris Thompson was lost to IR, unfortunately, on Sunday's game. He broke his fibula, which for those of you who don't know is a bone in your leg. So he is done for the rest of the year, which is a shame for them. And that is all the injury news, so we will get to the transactions now, and excuse me while I mosey onto the website so I can actually see how much people spent, because it's stupid that it doesn't show you anywhere else for some reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine there was that many transactions this week. I mean, say we've seen seen a lot of teams that are kind of settled now, I think. So.
Okay, I won't, because it doesn't like doing desktop mode on my phone anymore for some reason.
Oh dear.
Only on the NFL website. Really
Alright, well
I'll just read them out.
Read them out, yeah. So
you can imagine how much people spend.
That's it. And then if it wasn't quite what you imagined, you can check later.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Right. So, where are we? But then there's dropped Ryan Fitzpatrick. Cash for Gold added Mohamed Sanu and dropped Josh Lambo. He was just a 1 week rental. Gridiron Gang added the Panthers defense and dropped the Lions D. But Ednators added Kenny Stills and dropped Kelvin Benjamin.
Fair enough. I'll take that.
Interesting. Good Iron Gang added Andy Dalton and dropped Charles Clay. Tankface added Vikings and dropped Saints. Then they added Chris Boswell and dropped Matt Prater. Then they dropped the Vikings.
Which turns out to be a good decision.
Stafford is back in the game. That's quite impressive.
That's it. Has he only got one leg though? We're about to find this out, people. So, yeah, handing it off. There we go.
Yeah. ADRZ added Corey Clement and dropped Mike Gillersley. Southampton Owls added J.D. McKissick and dropped Blair Walsh.
Well,
I mean, he's arguably been the Seahawks' best back. I'm not sure that's saying a lot, but
no.
He has.
That's
He's also a converted receiver, I found.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Surely not.
Yeah.
Well, if I can tell you about convert anything, it's it. Converted quarterbacks don't make very good receivers, and being the best back in the Seattle backfield is like saying what's the best burger at McDonald's. It's very difficult to say.
I mean, I'm not the right person to ask.
No, that's true. Chicken selects even then.
What is that? So that Southampton Owls added Theo Riddick and dropped Dante Foreman. But then they decided Josh Gordon and dropped Jameis Winston. That's a hilarious wave move if I've ever seen one.
What was that?
They added Josh Gordon and dropped Jameis Winston.
Who knew?
Yep.
Okay.
They also added Tyrod Taylor. And then the Dream Team added the Vikings and dropped Mercedes Lewis. So that is your incredibly fun transactions for the week.
That really was. Yeah, it's very underwhelming.
We will swiftly move on to last week's games. What we got? What did I pick as the marquee matchup last week? That's the question. Can I remember?
I can't, because I wasn't here.
I think I actually picked your game.
Did you?
Yeah, I picked 45s with the Dream Team because it was the game. Oh no, that's this week's game.
Badetto.
Why is the phone not showing you last week?
We played Badetto last week. And I can tell you, people, it was a very close game. It was a very, very close game. 115 points to 105. Ouch.
I think I did pick your game, but...
I hope so.
Network connection. What is happening?
That's it. Technical problems here. But never fear, because the human brain can remember more than the NFL Fantasy app.
Yeah. What is going on? Right, okay, yeah, we'll just cover it. So, yeah, entering the game, you were 8-2, I believe.
I was.
And Bednaders were 4-7? Yeah? So, no, 4-6.
4-6. 4-6, correct.
Right.
Yes, that's correct, because they're 4-7 now.
Yeah, and there was 4 games to go. Right, got it. Yeah. So basically, with a win, Chris could have locked up the division and sealed his ticket to the playoffs for the first time in a long, long time. The only way Badettos could stop him is obviously with a win and keeping their own playoff hopes alive in the process. As it would turn out, though, after a few subpar weeks, I think by your standards, okay weeks in terms of a league-wide standards, you put up a good one, and even though Badettos also regained their form, they've had a few bad weeks as well. It wasn't enough, and Forge Flyers took the week. Would you like to tell me about the game from your memory?
It was close. It was very, very close. And I honestly, for the life of me, I truly not believed that I would be losing this game because Badettos put up a really, really good fight. I'd say they scored 105 points, and a lot of that was based on a really good effort from their defense. So they put up 30 points. They had Ryan Fitzpatrick had a really good day as well, 23 points. So when you include that's kind of half the points they scored on 2 players. They didn't have a great deal of luck elsewhere, especially from what I can remember in their receiving core, which wasn't so clever. But the normally very efficient and very useful Zach Ertz did let them down.
He had a bit of a quiet one on the Monday night game.
Until that point, he hadn't scored less than 9 points in the game, and then scored less than 1 in a game. So that didn't help them a great deal. But at the same time, put up a really good fight. On the other side, Forge Fly as well. What can we say? Again, the same sort of things here. A massive performance from the Jags D. That's 32 points from them. A massive performance from Shady McCoy. Got 24 points there. So that's a really decent foundation to build on. Yep. There could have been more on the bench. Left Fournette on the bench. That was a bit stupid.
But on the day, there was talking he wouldn't play.
That's true.
He's a bit banged up.
It could have been a timeshare. Left Rashard Matthews on the bench and put Macklin in. Maybe that's a bit silly as well. But regardless of that, Larry Fitzgerald comes out. He scores some good points as well. So he's scoring 15 points. You've got Derek Carr coming out of nowhere in the fourth quarter with a garbage time touchdown. Fantastic timing.
Yeah.
So yeah, all in all, the points are there, and as they have been all year. Haven't necessarily relied on all three running backs that time, but this week we're going back to that. On the same side, Budenez have nothing to fear. Unfortunately, they probably won't get in the playoffs this year. But the next thing is, can they make second of the division? I think they can. I think from what the
you hope they can.
Yes, absolutely. yes. And from what I've seen, it's really positive. So yeah, marquee matchup it was indeed, and 9-2.
Yeah.
I've finally secured the golden ticket to the chocolate factory.
Finally. And this was a good game as well if you like defense. I'm not sure if you got it, I don't think you did, but Jags defense got 32 and the Ravens defense got 30.
That's
so
it.
If you like defense,
that's it.
You should have watched this
Love
game.
defense.
And Jarrett McKinnon takes the handoff, reverses field, and gets a gain of 1. Cool. So, let's take a look at the other games last week now. We had another crucial divisional matchup, but for different reasons. Gridiron Gang took on Cash for Gold last week, and we're entering this one that they were both 6-4. So the winner, depending on the Pakistan result, if Pakistan was to Ben Estes, would take the lead in the division. So entering this game, Gridiron Gang had never lost to Cash for Gold. They were 2-0 going in, and staving off Sunday and Monday night comeback, Gridiron Gang took it 106 to 104.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Tell me about this game.
It's very, very close. I mean, it's very close throughout the roster as well. I mean, you look here. Matt Ryan and Matt Stafford, absolutely nothing in there. There's a point between them. Then you look at the running backs here. Well, Alvin Kamara had an absolutely massive game. There's absolutely no doubt about that for Cash for Gold.
10 points of that pretty much came right at the end as well.
Yeah.
Like, I was watching it, I was like, okay, fair enough. He's like running back 1 in terms of fantasy. It was just annoying.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But on the same side, the same sort of player, you got Orleans Darkwater for you. He's done the same sort of thing, just not quite as
flashy.
Yes, at the end. I think here though, the Gridiron Gangs had a much more balanced performance from key players in the team, and that's what's taken a massive positive for. So yes, the Eagles have been playing really well this year, and Cash for Gold.
Yeah, Eagles D led the charge on the comeback for Cash for Gold, 26 points on Sunday night.
That's right, and without that, it's going to be an awful lot less. And you can't expect a defense to score that every single week, as I've been saying for the last 5 years doing this. So it's very difficult to really gauge where that team is without really taking the D into account. I mean, it's Golden Tate had a bad fantasy game. 3.2. Cameron Brate, 1.2 fantasy points. Dontra Raymond has got 4.3 fantasy points. So there is the shortcomings. There are the shortcomings, but they've been made up with the defense. However, I think that
Jarrett McKinnon just lost another 4 yards.
Did he? Oh dear. Well, that's bad. I mean, Jarrett McKinnon actually here. I was about to say that 6 points from the from running back there, but it's where Darkwa comes into play. Brandon Cooks obviously had an unbelievable game.
Yeah, he had a great
day. Handy points. 19 points over your DST and kicker. So yeah, it's that atypical fantasy performance that we've seen for Gridiron Gang there. Fantastic comeback from Cash for Gold, but I think that's probably their season this year.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that's only the third time they've gone over 90 points this season. But hey, they've had a good last few weeks.
Worth a go.
Next game now then, let's take a dip in it. Southampton Normals versus the Dream Team. Now entering this game, this was kind of, I think both these teams were pretty much eliminated from the playoffs entering this. I think they were already. They were both 3-7 though, and while the playoffs are average, the Tank Bowl certainly was in the grasps of both of these teams. So a win by each of these could potentially, avoid one of them at least from the Tank Bowl come to the end of the season.
Yeah,
because there's not going to be a lot more wins for these teams. You wouldn't have thought. But as it would happen, it was a really good game. Both of these teams really turned up for the day.
Sure.
The Southampton Normals really have been quite decent this year. They had quite a few good weeks, and they capitalised that with what must be a season's best, 127 points to a really good 108 points by the Dream Team.
Absolutely.
And Southampton Normals, more importantly, they moved to 4-7 now. They have a chance at avoiding Are they 4-7 or 3?
They are. They are. Yeah.
4-7. Yeah. Avoiding the dreaded tank bowl while the Dream Team faces a stiff test to avoid it. Right?
Absolutely. It's a massive renaissance from this team because it wasn't that long ago. I mean, say maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago that I was saying this is probably one of the worst teams we've ever seen, and now I mean, say it's a completely turned around. And you have to take Ross has to take some credit for this because you know he's boldly played Delta Foreman in this. You know, won't play him again this season, but you know. He's got 20 fantasy points in the day, 2 touchdowns, 65 yards. That represents a really good total. Yes, one of them was on one run, and that's fine. But you know, sometimes you need to play these bold calls to be able to win. You know, there's big numbers all around it. You know, so we got 31 points for Brady, we got 40.5 points for Marvin Jones, 30.5 points for Landry, 30.5 points.
Brady
for
will bust his wife for the second year straight. And
19 points for Gostkowski. I mean, you know. Fair enough. I mean, where he picked up in the draft was laughable, but actually, in terms of points return,
if you get the number 1 kicker in fantasy, they're a good kicker for you.
Yeah,
right? It's
sure.
like the number 1 defense. You know, if you draft them a few rounds early, and they live up to it, it's fine.
Yeah,
you know.
and that's what we've proved. I mean, we've been saying for years that your defense and your kicker can really make a hell of a difference, especially when they play every week, and they've got to be right. And they certainly are here. It's a real foundation, and actually, it's where the difference has been made. Because you look here, you know, it's it. You know, Breeze and
turns up for once, which is surprising.
It is. It's it, quite. And don't get me wrong, this is a really good performance from the Dream Team, and this is probably as good as they're going to get for a while because they just haven't had that same sort of consistency. So yeah, massive points for Breeze, massive points for Jordan Howard, big points for Thielen. I mean, yeah, that was all on one run as well. But say he's got to be there to do it. And don't get me wrong, that's it. Thielen under the radar is the number 6 fantasy receiver.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Some say he's been as good as in terms of skill, in terms of as good as Antonio Brown this season.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely. So
it's high praise.
As a value draft pickup, let's not forget that's where he was. That's fantastic.
Just imagine what they would have been if they still had Odell.
Well, there is that, and say, you know, when you're playing Deshaun Jackson scoring 8 points, you know, so you're looking for that sort of X factor as such. You know, another 10 points there. You know, although it doesn't put him into a massive realm, week in, week out, that's going to win you some weeks. Yeah. So it's unfortunate that your number 1 guy goes down.
Yep.
But say this is now very interesting, this division, because you know from out of nowhere the Narwhals are coming out.
Yeah, they might avoid the tank ball. I mean, and it's crazy. I touched on it in the power rankings, which we'll get to later.
Yeah.
At one point in the season, we were talking about is this team going to set the record for the amount of losses in a season?
Yeah, absolutely.
And now look where they are, 4-7. I think they've won their 3rd game in a row now.
It's very much,
they've completely turned their season around.
It's crazy. So full credit to Ross coming out of a slump and doing well. Yeah. Unfortunately for Viv, he's on the downward trend.
Mm-hmm. Next game now, then we'll go Ben Assistis versus Pakistan.
We'll talk about downward trends.
Pakistan had the division lead on points. On record entering this game, and meanwhile Ben Assistis, ever since Rodgers left the roster, the team just has not been the same, it's fair to say. But they were still 4-6, definitely not dead in terms of the playoff race. Meanwhile, Pakistan obviously looking to hold on to theirs. Hold on to the division. It did not turn out that way because Ben Assistis, they had a decent day, 95 points, nothing special, but a good day. No. Pakistan, what they've shown at times this season, another lapse, only 58 points. They lose control of the division, and Ben Assistis, even though being forked, stay alive for another week.
Very much so, and say Pakistan, as we were saying before about kicker in DST bailing you out for the day. That's certainly what's happened here. I mean, say it could have been an absolute horror show. You know, especially if Will Lutt's not turned up. You know, 10 less points than that. We're talking about some of the lowest scores we've ever seen.
Well, Ben Assistis did play the week before this. If you
all right, true. However, we'll run with it. There's very few times I can say that a quarterback has scored negative points.
Yeah, it's an odd one.
Yeah, as a final result. That really is not good.
We're playing the whole game as well, might add.
That's absolutely, quite, yes. Getting benched at half doesn't count and getting injured doesn't count. So, for your number 1 guy to get minus 1.2 points as a quarterback, I mean, man, that is bad news. Everyone's entitled to a bad week, I get that, and say that's what's happened here. As on the other side, Ben Assistis, if not for Ben Roethlisberger's 36 points, I think we'll probably be talking again that it's a limited week. Maybe lucky that they come up against a team this week who's obviously busted. You know, there's not a great deal to shout about now that obviously all the Packers have gone. You know, so I struggle to get excited about this at all. Apart from the fact that Roethlisberger has gone for 4 touchdowns against the Titans, that's about all I can say.
Yeah, no, it's pretty accurate. And again, it's quite interesting how, much like you were saying about Southampton Knowles potentially losing his team, there was a poll that I put up last week, at the beginning of last week, saying what division would the Tank Bowl loser come from?
Yeah.
And the voting was nearly, I think it was unanimous, if not nearly, for the Portsmouth division.
Yeah.
And that could have only been Ben Necessities because the other 3 teams in that were 6 and 4 at the time.
Yeah.
And in a week, we don't, you know, as you say, it wasn't particularly good result, but 95 points. They're now 5 and 6, 2 games ahead of Dream Team. They're not going to make that up, I don't think.
No.
So there's only 1 spot to go, and then there's I think 3 other teams at 4 and 7 right now, and you've got to think, you know, being a game ahead, that probably gives them enough of an edge to avoid it. So it's crazy.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
How much changes in a week.
Absolutely.
But yeah, they're kind of 5 and 6, still technically alive in the playoffs, but not really. Pakistan, they fall a game behind in the division, and they enter a crucial game this week, which we'll get to in a bit.
Absolutely.
But we're on our next game now. We've got ADRZ against Tom Tyrants again. Nothing too interesting this one entering it. So Tom Tyrants just looking to avoid the Tank Bowl at this point in the season. Believe they were eliminated from playoffs before this game. Meanwhile, ADRZ, they held the division lead entering this one at 7 and 3. One ahead of Iksan. If Iksan lost, they could obviously extend their lead to 2. If they lose, it opens the door for Iksan to remain in the division. And as it would happen, they did lose with again, subpar week by their standards. League average reasonable, but they lost 102 to 84.
Yes, absolutely. I think Tom's Tyrants have the potential to score more here as well. I mean, Alex Smith just didn't come in, and for a massive fee earlier in the season, you know, you expect a bit more from him. He certainly isn't finishing the season as he started it. But let's go with the positive start. I think Antonio Brown here is I believe that's his highest scoring game of the season, and Matt Stafford's got picked, gutted. Highest scoring game of the season, and it's necessary here because ADRZ are on an absolute march before this game. So that's a positive there, and also the Chargers D has come up trumps against what was an absolutely abysmal Buffalo offense. Let's be honest. 5 picks in the first half. You want to be scoring big, and he has. So gamble he did, and gamble it's worked. Unfortunately, some glimmers of hope are now gone. I mean, you see the likes of Chris Thompson, who's been really useful for Tom's Tyrants this season.
Arguably one of their best players.
He's gone. Trying to find a replacement running back at this point of the season is tough, if not impossible. So so very good luck to you there, Tom. Whilst on the other side of the board, very good again from Russell Wilson, as you expect. He's been pretty consistent all year. He's been a real cornerstone of the challenge that ADRZ have presented. But at the same time, you've got to look here and you go, can this really be kept up? Because running back situation obviously is not good there. He's picked up Damian Williams, who's obviously starting in Miami now, but with Matt Moore possibly starting more games, is he really going to get a crack of the whip? Also, Crowell and Javorius Allen aren't really the most dynamic duo that you want. They're not going to score week in, week out. And I think that eventually, if he does get towards the playoffs, it's going to affect him because scoring 84 points this week, I think is probably a par score for where they should be. Without a massive score from Russell Wilson, it's going to be a worse week than it actually is. AJ Green's turned up, and DeAndre Hopkins turns up because they're both the number 1 guys in their respective offences. But other than that, not too much to shout about there. No. Great win for Tom, but I think we're going to see him decline in the next few weeks.
I think that's an accurate assessment.
But I'm contractually obliged to say that despite the decline, you can never ever rule this team out. I'm only contractually obliged for 3 more weeks. So 3
more weeks, until they're officially eliminated, and then you have to prop them up in the Tank Bowl.
Indeed, absolutely. We'll see. You never know. But they are my favourite team in the league.
Yeah, we'll see. And ADRZ, it's a down week. Looking down the team, I don't know. It just feels like some of the shine's worn off. So it'll be interesting to see how they rebound next week with a crucial matchup against Iksan. Speaking of which, in our final game of last week, Iksan takes on Tanky for Tankface. And again, this was a really interesting game because Iksan, as I just mentioned, 1 game behind ADRZ entering this week. We now know ADRZ lost, so they could tie him up. And if they scored enough points, but I think the point total would have been a lot, they could have overtaken them and taken the division lead. However, on the flip side of that, Tanky McTankface, on the other hand, they were 4-6 entering this game, I believe. Yeah. They needed a win, much like Ben Necessities did, reasonably stay alive in the playoff race, to keep it close in the wild card and in the division as well. So this was a real fight, but it ended up in Ixtan's favour, 116 to 104.
That's it. It looks like a big score difference, but actually there's one key factor in this that's the real change, and that's your DST. Again, we talk about your DSTs, how useful they are this year.
Yeah.
Saints D against Washington, I'm not so sure that was the greatest matchup known to humankind, because Kirk Cousins has been playing really well recently.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much a pass. The Saints have never been very good against the pass, and Washington are a pass-heavy.
It was actually an interesting game because once again the Saints D had posted some really ridiculous scores. This one. But this was, I think, to be fair, the hardest test they faced.
Sure.
Since quite early in the season. So, it was really, I guess Phil was betting on them being the real deal in terms of being able to go toe to toe with a above average offense.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
Didn't work out that way, and that's the difference. There's 15 points difference, and guess where the 15 points are made up?
Yep.
Well, it's there. Quarterbacks. Wentz had a good game. Cousins had a good game. That's it. You've got to take it off to Ben. His holy trinity of players have turned out this time. His Cousins, Lamar Miller and Murray. That's it. To be fair, Latavius Murray ain't going to score 21 points every week. Lamar Miller's not going to score 14 points every week. He's pretty lacklustre week in, week out. With Tom Savage in that offense, possibly he's going to get a little bit more because they can't trust the guy. But we'll see how we go on that. I mean, I think that Ixtan somehow this time of the year they love picking up wins this time of the year. It is their time. And for the last 2 seasons, we've found that. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a fertile ground. But yeah. On the other side, there's nothing for Phil to worry about here, really. He's had a really good week again.
As he has a lot of times this season.
Absolutely. Just let down again by one key area. Steelers against Tennessee, it's challenging, but again, Mariota doesn't normally throw 4 picks in a game.
No, yeah.
But he did that time, that's the difference.
Yeah. And, Ixtan ties up the division, tanking Tankface 4-7 now. Really, realistically looking like they'll miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
Their focus now is to make sure they don't appear in the Tank Bowl for a second consecutive year.
And then you have to keep your name.
Can you believe it? It could be a rematch of the Tank Bowl of last year, but then there's also 4-7.
Yeah.
It would require the Dream Team obviously climbing out from the bottom and everything, but it's possible.
It's possible.
So
Absolutely.
So those were your last week's games. We'll take a quick look at the standings now, and then we'll go into power rankings and stuff. So standings, we've got Fortifiers 9-2, they are now a confirmed playoff team.
Yes, we are.
Congratulations, for the first time since 2011.
Thank you.
The question now is the poll, you can go and vote in it, is will you reach double-digit wins? I voted yes. Some people voted no. I thought that was surprising.
I think considering there's 3 games left, there's quite a good chance.
Yeah, I think it's, yeah. But then it is though, 4-7 now, they're out of the division race, as is the rest of the division, have a slim chance of a wild card. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. They're ahead on points alone over the Southampton Owls, who have miraculously climbed to 4-7. And can actually find them with a nice finish to the season. Meanwhile, the Dream Team, rooted to the bottom, 3-8. Their mission is now to avoid the Tank Bowl at all costs.
Yes.
Portsmouth Division, Gridiron Gang takes sole possession at 7-4 after a crucial division win against Cash for Gold and a Pakistan loss. Speaking of those two are 6 and 5 now, right behind. And then Benesus is close on their heels at 5-6, so still to play for in the Portsmouth Division. And as we'll see in a minute, there is an absolute crucial game for a couple of these teams as well. And then finally, Winchester Division, tied at the top, ADRZ versus Ixtan, both 7-4. Blocked field goal in this game if Detroit return this.
And they're off.
Oh my goodness.
He's going to the house.
It'll be interesting to see what this flag is. This is why we love doing a Thanksgiving pod.
That's it.
If this play stands, that is incredible. Vikings have had so many special teams issues the last few weeks. Kai Forbath has struggled with field goals. The player's reaction, though, does not look good. It appears someone might have been offside. Looking at the
He's gone before.
Yeah,
oh dear.
He's gone before the snap. It's
oh dear.
Yeah.
It's
That's
stonewall.
going to come back, unfortunately, for Detroit. But they can still do it again.
It looked good, though.
AOZ Ixan 7-4. They've faced a crucial game against each other this week. Tank Mace and Thomas Harris meanwhile 4-7 again. They're just on a quest to avoid the Tank Bowl. Let's take a look at the power rankings really quickly before we mosey on to next week's games. High fives to the Vikings. This game is over. They got a first down from that, and Lions have no more timeouts. So
good.
Another win for the Vikings. Let's see, League of Champions. Hopefully we see Tom's article as well this week. Hey. So power rankings. Forge Flyers back at the top after their 1 week absence. ADOZ dropped from first to second. Ixan, they hold at 3. Pakistan fall a couple of spots after their bad week from 2 to 4. But then they climb a bit after a good week, 7 to 5. Gridiron Gang hold at 6. Tank and the Tank Face, they drop a couple. Really not about their performance, just about other teams looking a bit better and having a bit better luck. They are now at 7 from 5. Cash for Gold hold at 8. Southampton Knowles hold at 9. Dream Team hold at 10. Tom's Tyrants hold at 11. And Ben SSDs hold at 12. The team I forked this week was Tank Face. Tell me what you think about the power rankings this week.
I think we see anyone who's forked isn't really worth talking about at this point because, it's it. Ultimately, they're going to battle amongst themselves for the mediocrity. Yeah. And, we've all been there. You're just trying to see how far you can climb out and not be in the tank mode, of course.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the teams that are still running and riding. Obviously, Forge Flyers top. I think that's probably fair considering that they've got the best record in the league. Fair enough. ADRZ, I as we said before, I think ADRZ we're going to see trending down in the next couple of weeks. I just got this gut feeling that they've probably had their Red Bull for the year, let's say, kicked him in, put in a few good wins, had 4 in a row, and then now I think the Ixan behind them do look very, very good.
Yeah, the running back core looks very suspect for them compared to what it did a few weeks ago.
100%.
We know DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to be the same as Deshaun Watson. So.
No, totally not. I say that's the issue. Pakistan, it's difficult to know where they're going to be week in, week out. I think they had a really good week against us the week before, but 58 points is just inexcusable with what is ultimately almost a full-strength team bar Christian McCaffrey. But Detonate is again in the same sort of boat in the sense that you don't really know what's going to turn up week in, week out. They know we've seen that they can score massive points. It's just scoring against the right opposition in the week. However, I do think that they'll still finish second in the division, and also I think they'll finish higher in the power rankings coming into the year as well. Gridiron Gang are the same. I think Gridiron Gang are a middling team who you know what you're going to get from them every week. You know you're going to get a tough game. And at 7-4 you can see why. But it's in terms of power, I don't think they're particularly high.
No,
but in terms of consistency is what matters. Yeah. And then we go to the rest of them. Tank Face possibly might bring themselves out of the mire, but they're not going to do anything. And then we go to the bottom. Cash for Gold, Narwhals, they will trend. They're trending up at the moment. How long that will last, who knows? Dream Team will trend down, I'm pretty sure. Tom's Tyrants, they're done. Benes Estes, they're very done. So well done, in fact, that you wouldn't want to go anywhere near them. So no, yep. I think there are a couple of trenders up in the top 5, but Ixan and the team to watch. You want to watch out for them.
Yep, certainly. So now we'll look at next week's games now, and we'll do this quick fire style because we like doing more on the looking back than the looking forward. Yes. But we do have some really, really interesting games this week.
We've got to pick a marquee matchup.
So we do, and that's going to be tough because I'll read off the matchups. We have Gridiron Gang versus Benes Estes, which is the father-son bowl, and it still has some playoff implications. We have Southampton Knowles against the Detonators, which could be a direct fight-off for who stays out of the Tank Bowl. We have the Dream Team against Forge Flyers, which doesn't really have any implications on anything at this point. The Dream Team could do with a win really to avoid, try and avoid the Tank Bowl. Forge Flyers, they are just trying to get some extra wins to pad the stats. So in the season, they're already in the playoffs. Cash for Gold Pakistan, huge matchup. Both teams 6-4. One win behind division leading Gridiron Gang. If Gridiron Gang wins, the other teams will need to keep up, obviously. The other one will drop yet another game, which makes it exceedingly hard with only 2 games to go to overtake any teams at that point.
Yeah.
ADRZ v Ixan is the next one, which is also a huge game. It's the battle for the division. 3 games to go, so it's definitely not over and done with for the winner of this one, but
Yeah.
it will give him a game edge, certainly. And then finally, Thomas Terrence versus Tango Tankface, which again, 2 4 and 7 teams. The winner of this feasibly should avoid, or at least have a really good chance of avoiding the Tank Bowl, just like with the Southampton Arms but Eden this game. So really a few interesting games. What are you going to choose, however, what are you going to choose this week for the marquee matchup?
My marquee matchup this week is ADRZ versus Ixan.
Okay.
It's top of a division. I think it's key to see whether it really is going to be a changing of the guard at some point in that division.
Yeah.
As I said before, it's one team trending up, the other team trending slightly down after a period of quite sustained success.
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to seeing this matchup, especially as it is, it's been the Corona Bowl the last couple of
Yeah,
years.
it has, and it's kind of fitting they face each other this year because potentially one could knock the other out of
Absolutely.
the playoffs.
The implications are huge. So let's have a look at that.
Yep, so we've already had 15 points from Ixan with Latavius Murray, who just played. He had a good day. No other players as yet, so looking down the lineups remain. ADRZ actually has Damian Williams coming into the lineup. Ixan has Sammy Watkins, Robbie Anderson are in. Ted Ginn is also in, so...
May I say, I hope that Tom will put us in his bold predictions later on. The matchups for both the quarterbacks are absolutely unbelievable this week.
23 and 25.
Absolutely. We're seeing Cousins against the Giants, who, let's be honest, have been absolutely woeful on defence this year. Absolutely woeful. Versus Russell Wilson in San Francisco, playing San Francisco, again with another woeful defence.
That could be points best.
It absolutely is. It's easy pickings of both of these. I don't know who really. I don't really know at this point who's going to score more. I think probably Wilson against San Francisco, maybe just a little bit. Because I think they're going to be on offense a little bit more. But that's a really good matchup there. I think that's explosive. It starts it all off. Miller against Baltimore. That's a tough matchup. But then again, at the same time, when you see what the other two on the other side, you got Crowell against Cincinnati. That's tough in Cincinnati, and then Williams against New England, and possibly won't get as much fed to him. Don't forget they've still got 2 running backs there. They've still got Kenyon Drake to feed as well. And he's definitely the more explosive back. Then we go to the receivers. Nice work here. We've got AJ Green against Cleveland. Big thumbs up from me. Big thumbs up. Sammy Watkins against New Orleans, which again should be a big thumbs up, but Sammy Watkins.
You never know.
You never really know. Robbie Anderson's been one of those players that's been a bit under the radar all year. He's produced.
He had a streak of, I think they just came out of the bye, but going into the bye, he scored a touchdown in 4 straight games.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's quite impressive.
And they haven't got that many weapons in that offense, especially as they're really using, they're using Safarian Jenkins as their slot receiver, and they're using
Jermaine
Curse is there still. So, you got that, but then again, DeAndre Hopkins is DeAndre Hopkins, and so he can always pull out a good day.
Yep,
especially, but it's a tough game against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Then we got Kelsey against Buffalo at home. I'd probably say they're going to be offense a lot. So let's go with that.
They just lost to the Giants. They're going to be pretty mad.
Yeah,
I'd be pretty mad.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gronk against Miami again. That's a really good matchup.
He's going to Gronk all over their face.
So yes, indeed. And then we got down here Flex, Gideon Smith-Schuster. It is what it is there. But then we go down to the DSTs, and this is where it's really going to heat up again, because the Steelers play Green Bay, and let's be honest, they haven't looked great over the last few weeks, have they? And the Broncos play Oakland, and again, they haven't looked great on offense the last few weeks either, and especially as they play in Oakland. Yes, Derek Carr's been playing all right, but the
receivers are not doing anything. The run game's not doing anything.
Exactly, and I read this somewhere this week that Derek Carr, as a fantasy QB, hasn't scored more than 13 points against the Broncos in 2 years. There you go.
Stats.
That's the stat of the day. That is. So we then got to decide who we want.
Who are you picking for the game?
Oh, that's it. Well. I must admit, I do like ADRZ's matchups. I do, and it's very tough. Some of them are good, but I do think that Ixan obviously trending up, as I said before. Oh, AJ Green could be the guy here that sways this.
Against Cleveland.
I'm going.
Jason McCoy's been an underrated corner this year.
That's it, but I think that the firepower wise.
I've decided I'm going Ixan.
Yeah, I can't.
They've got more reliable players. The receiving core is spotty, but I think
I can't look past the running backs. I really can't. The running backs are poor.
For Excellent.
For ADRZ.
Yeah, that's my point. Isaiah Crowell, Damien Williams, who he's in a timeshare.
Yeah, it's difficult. So, yeah, I'm going with Ixan and say, as I said, they are
take the
team to watch.
division lead, according to the LOC report. So.
Yeah.
We're going to our next games now. Gridiron Gang against Ben SSCs, the old father-son wall. Gridiron Gang currently leads the division, another win would keep them ahead. Only one win ahead, though, due to the other matchup we spoke of earlier. And it would probably it would end Ben SSC's season. A win by Ben SSCs keeps their playoff hopes alive and also keeps the division very, very much alive. Looking at the lineups, Gridiron Gang had Jarek McKinnon play just now. He got 5.4 points, so nothing special. Not really going to kill you, but not great. Stafford got 18 in the end, so okay, nothing great as well. But he was on the bench, so we don't care. What do you make of this match?
There's a lot I don't like on Ben Assestis at the moment. I mean, so let's say what I do like. I like the Chiefs against Buffalo. I like that a lot.
Yep.
I like Devontae Freeman against Tampa Bay. I like
if
that.
If he plays.
If he plays. Let's be positive. If he plays. Delaney Walker against Indianapolis is they're soft. Mariota likes throwing to him. He's got the potential to score well here. Hasn't really done it all the year, but we'll see how we go. As we said before, Tyreek Hill against Kansas City is probably the guy who's going to be stretching the Buffalo D.
Yep.
But I don't like Crabtree against Denver. I don't like Williams against Pittsburgh. Don't really like Dion Lewis against Miami because there's just too many. Yeah, and Roethlisberger, he can score 4 touchdowns every week. He's playing Green Bay. Yes, they've been pretty soft, but you know, Roethlisberger at home against Green Bay. You know, you got to bet on him there because if there's one game he's going to perform, it's going to be that.
Yeah.
But you know, will we see the same heights as we saw last week?
Yeah.
There's potential there.
Potential.
Dalton against Cleveland, same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. So, you know, I must admit it's going to be close, and and it says there's only 0.5 of a point in the
I think that's accurate. Yeah, I have quite a few bad matchups this week.
You do. That's the thing. So I must admit I hate to say it, Dave. I hate to say it, but you know, I said I had Ben Assessi as a fault, but there's always time to come out of that cutlery drawer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going with my team. Just the consistency factor. Like Ben Assestis, we know since Aaron Rodgers has been out that lineup, unless Roethlisberger or the QB, whoever's playing, has a good day, the team just doesn't put up a lot of points. That's a fact. That's a fact. There's enough inconsistency on their lineup to, I think, prevent them from having a
quite possibly
really good week. They could still have a good week. Whereas, as you said earlier, Gridiron Gang, they're a pretty good lock for, circa 90 plus points a week.
Yeah.
Some of the players aren't sexy. Some of the matchups definitely are not sexy.
No.
The team usually finds a way to put up the points.
Yes. That's it.
Based on that, I'm just going to go
I mean, you got 3 key matchups here. It's Bell versus Green Bay, it's Cooks versus Miami, and Dalton versus Cleveland. I think if those 3 kind of act you in, you're going well.
Yeah, I would agree. So, there we go.
Cool.
Next game then, Southampton Arms take on Benednader. So 2 teams trying to avoid the dreaded tank bowl. So looking down the lineups, they're both 4 and 7. Southampton Arms have already had a few players play. Theo Riddick, he got 3 points, and Marvin Jones, he got 23 points. Good day by him. Benednader's 13 points currently. They had Stefan Diggs play, he got 7.5, and Kai Forbath, who got 6. Tell me about the match.
Well, that's it. I mean, as I must admit, before the game, I would have. It would be. I would say it would be very close, but Marvin Jones has put up a massive score. Right. So let's see what I like. Obviously, Brady against Miami, and because of that, Landry against New England. They both of their secondaries aren't great. Patriots have got better.
Patriots, it's underrated. They give up yards, but not points.
That's it. And I think that if you're going to give up yards, then Landry's
the
guy. So we see that McKissick's a bit of an unknown quantity.
Wild card, but Mike Williams is out.
That's it.
They don't like Eddie Lacy. That's
no, that's it. Quite. And I know Conley last week. Played Foreman. He'd done all right.
Yep.
But previous few weeks, played in 20 points. So it's another bold call. And Hilton against Tennessee, I like that as well. And Jimmy Graham in San Francisco, I like that as well. So over the course of that, the Narwhals are playing well. Yeah. And they've also got the Seahawks against San Francisco,
which is beautiful.
Indeed, which is a lovely old score. I like that. But I also like the Ravens against Houston as well because we we see Tom Savage playing. He's not great. However, you know, Philip Rivers against Dallas tonight. That should be an interesting game. You just don't really know what kind of Philip Rivers is going to turn up. Whether it be the Philip Rivers of last week or the Philip Rivers of weeks gone by previous to that. It's difficult. But I say this not tongue in cheek. I say this that the Narwhals could win this game.
No, I think they could. I don't think that's outlandish at all. No. They're on a 3-game win streak.
Absolutely, and I see them winning this game because the matchups are good. Not necessarily because the Medetates are bad, but
they've just had bad luck this whole season.
They have.
That's just been the cold hard fact. Like I said months ago, even sometimes the good teams in the league just have bad luck. It happened to me last year. It's happened to teams in seasons past as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you see here it's guys that aren't performing. But obviously, Gordon and Hunt, you're going to be playing them guys because they're great. Crowder.
Oh, Gordon though, it's a problem with Gordon because he's in a bit of a timeshare. He's never been a back that's been dynamic. He's always been a volume player.
True.
So he's a volume back that's not getting the volume.
No.
As we saw last week when but then they started both him and Austin
Ekeler. Yeah, that's it. And which paid off. But, but it won't every week. Yeah. It won't every week. Playing Jameson Crowder again, it's not the best situation that Redskins offense, but you know, so you've got to trust the guy because ultimately he's been proven in years gone by.
Yeah.
And Samaje Perine, well, questionable. That's going to be interesting to see if he plays tonight.
Yeah, I think he probably will, but.
But again, when you've got guys, maybe like Ekeler again, who's there, maybe like was Carlos Hyde benched because they don't like him, and Kenny Stills is on the bench. You know, who if Matt Moore plays, Matt Moore and Kenny Stills seem to have this connection going.
Yeah.
So maybe that. But anyway, I'm going with the Narwhals. I feel it. I don't know why I feel it.
Yeah, no, I feel the same thing. So I'm going with Narwhals as well. And Russ extends the winning streak to 5. Unbelievable.
Unbelievably so. I mean, I can't believe it.
No, neither can I. And before we get hung up on that disbelief, let's mosey straight on to our next game, which is the Dream Team versus Forge Flyers.
Well,
as we said, we won't spend too much time on this one because at this point has really no implications on anything.
Absolutely none.
Dream Team almost look destined for the tank goal, but they can still avoid it.
Yeah.
They need a win here, however, against Forge Flyers. They got off to a decent start. They had Abdullah got 4.3 points. Adam Thielen got 9, and the Vikings D got 11. Nothing too sexy there, but nothing that's going to kill you in a week.
Not at all.
Forge Flyers didn't have anyone play in this game, but they obviously remain one of the league's best. Tell me about the game.
Well, the record speaks for itself. Only one game on Thanksgiving, which is Vernon Davis against the Giants for the Flyers, and say with Jordan Reed out, that should be a decent game, I think. The Dream Team have obviously scored 25 points already. They've had 3 players down. Of all the players to go, the only ones that you can really pick out as being threats are Breeze and Jordan Howard. Jackson done a lot. Cook hasn't done a lot, especially when doing against Denver. Duke Johnson's a kind of decent spot start for this week.
He's been a decent player.
Yeah, but is he gonna pull up trees? Probably not. And is he against? Looking on the other side of the fence, is he going to beat Leonard Fournette for points? Probably not. So that's what you got to kind of think. I mean, you know, obviously Forge Flyers are stacked this year in terms of running ability. It's just whether it'll turn up every week.
Yeah, the problem is Gurley's good. Love Gurley. He's been a great player this year, but McCoy quietly has not.
He hasn't. No, it's right.
And Fournette. I don't know what it is. Last month he just doesn't. He's just not been the same through injury, through breaking a team rule.
Agreed. Yes, and luckily McCoy's.
There's still good options. Don't get me wrong. That they're volume plays at the end of the day, so they're going to get volume points if nothing else. But
that's right.
Gurley's the only real stud in the stable. I think it's.
And quite. And I think if you see week in week out, one of them scores big. If the other one doesn't, then the other one will. So that's good, and especially when you've the one position I've struggled with all year is quarterback. That's a difficult position for me this year. Yeah. You know, Mariota is what he is. He's playing Indy this week, so it shouldn't be too bad. But you know, I think you can't really look past it for a 10th win, I'm afraid.
No, yeah, I'm going for Flyers as well. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. Next game then, we haven't covered this one yet. I don't think Kashmir got against Pakistan. Again, the other crucial game we spoke of.
This is a big game.
Both teams 6-4. If one team loses, if Gridiron Gang lose, it's not over. If Gridiron Gang win, reasonably it probably is.
Yeah.
Because there'll be 2 games behind the division. There'll also be, there'll only be a game behind in the wildcard, I suppose, so it wouldn't be over, but it would be tough for sure. So Huge game for these teams this week. Both of them coming off a loss, so only one can obviously win.
Indeed.
Looking down the lineup, Cashford had Golden Tate play. He only got 2 points. That wasn't a great start. No one else has played. Yeah, tell me about the game.
I think that looking at the list is that Cashford Gould, believe it or not, I would have said before Golden Tate had gone for 2 points, they were the more explosive team. I say that they've got 2 informed running backs at the moment. Kamara's obviously got his room to run in the offense in New Orleans at the moment, and Ajayi is what he is, which is just an absolute beast. Whilst on the other side, you see Alfred Morris, he may or may not be the number 1 guy. He's projected 11 points, but I'm not sure he's going to get anywhere near that. Christian McCaffrey's obviously been great all year because he's that guy they target a lot. And Joe Mixon's a similar sort of player for Cincinnati.
Yeah, should do well. Although I guess the Browns defense is sneaky, been quite good against them.
That's it, yeah, quite. And they've learned, but he's not that sort of back, is he? So he's pretty dynamic. He can do everything.
Yeah.
I do like the receiving core. I've always liked the receiving core of Pakistan. Jones, Thomas, and
Ingram. It doesn't seem to turn up. It's bizarre. Like I said earlier in the show, or before the show, Jones hasn't actually had a touchdown yet.
Yeah. If you saw those 3 against you in the same team, you'd be pretty frightened.
Oh yeah.
But for individual teams, they just haven't been there. It's difficult to say really what the best course of action is, and even the defense. It's Bengals against Cleveland, and Eagles against Chicago. That could be a bit of a slugfest as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be closer than I think. Who do I think will win?
It is a coin flip. It's
wow. Yeah, it is. It is. I think Pakistan on recent form. I think Cashford Gould, as we've seen previously in the season, they haven't really gone over 90 points and been massively exciting.
Yeah.
I think Pakistan probably have a little bit more depth in there.
Yeah, I think I'll go Pakistan as well. You mentioned that the recent form hasn't been on their side. I wouldn't necessarily... Last week wasn't great for them.
No.
But leading up to that, they were doing pretty good. I think it's fair to say. Cashford Gould, we know what they are at this point in the season. They're a team that is going to put up a reasonable amount of points, but they're going to need something special to get over that mark.
100%.
Pakistan are more likely to, I think. Obviously, Cashford Gould have already had the player play. They only got 2 points, so instant edge to Pakistan for me. So that's that. Now our final game, which again we will not spend a lot of time on. It's got tank hole implications though, because it is Tank face against Tom's Tyrants. And so for this matchup, Tank has obviously had a disappointing season. Arguably should have been better than it was. They sit up 4-7. The Tank Warriors, Tom's Tyrants, they've been bad, but they've actually been managed to get some decent wins out of the last few weeks. To their credit. Looking down the lineups, Tank has had one player playing Carl Rudolph, who got 18.3 points. Great job.
Very much so.
Already gives them a good edge. Is that edge going to be enough for them to win this game?
I think that it relies very much on the performance of both the quarterbacks here. I think Wentz against Chicago should go well. And Alex Smith against Buffalo at home should go well too.
Yep.
So that should give them a good performance either way. I also think that Ingram obviously has been a very good performer for Phil all year. He's betting a bit on Tevin Coleman being that number 1 guy in Freeman's absence.
I mean, if Freeman doesn't play, even if he does play, he's probably still a decent option.
That's right, absolutely. And then if he does play, he's got Murray on the bench playing against Indy, which again is a nice matchup. So that's good. Again, the receiving core for both teams is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
I think that even the third receiver, Devontae Adams and Paul Richardson, they're going to get targeted.
Reasonable options.
Pretty similarly. I don't think Devontae Adams in the Green Bay offense is nearly as good as Paul Richardson in the Seattle offense against San Francisco this week. But I want to be proven wrong, quite frankly. Again, this is another coin toss. I think that Tanky McTankface on the other. Here's what it is. His tight end scored 18 points.
It's a hard figure to overcome.
Absolutely. When you see marginal gains like that from players who you don't expect. Yep. Is Jason Witten really going to score 18 points? I'm not so sure he is against the Chargers. And again,
they've been one of the best teams against tight ends as well.
Yeah, and plenty. That's a good stat.
Right.
Same. And plenty of teams and plenty of players in that team. So you think Powell against Carolina, that's tough. Done well against Atlanta, that's tough. Antonio Brown against Green Bay, that shouldn't be tough. But if you're only riding on one guy, your chances of winning is going to be difficult. So yeah, I think that I think I'm going to have a tank face this week.
Get a win that they deserve on what's been otherwise a disappointing season.
Absolutely, and he's only just been recently forked as well. I mean,
Yep, that's true. And that brings us to the end of the LSC report. As we've just covered, it is a crucial week of games. So next week's show is going to be really exciting for us because we're going to have a really interesting playoff race with only 2 games to go at that point.
Yes.
However, for the meantime, I'm going to enjoy some more Thanksgiving games. Chris is probably going to go to bed, and I don't blame him.
I'm going to have some turkey.
That's good as well. So good luck in the rest of your games. Happy Thanksgiving, I guess. Hopefully we'll see you on Sunday. Have a good one, and we'll see you hopefully at this time again next week.
Take care. See you.
See ya.
That was less than an hour.